This episode is brought to you by Michelob Ultra. Michelob Ultra is perfect for more than just the summer heat this year, because not only is it refreshing and crisp with only 95 calories, but Ultra is also the official beer sponsor of Team USA at the Olympic Games Paris 2024. Celebrate every point, race, and moment with Team USA and Michelob Ultra for the Olympic Games Paris 2024. Stock up on Michelob Ultra and cheer on Team USA. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2024 Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Greatness hurts. It's 10,000 hours of hard work, sweat, and setbacks. The aches, the stumbles, the falls. Tylenol provides pain relief for the champion in us all. It's the #1 doctor-recommended brand of pain relief and fever reduction. This summer, when greatness hurts, Tylenol will be there with care to help you keep chasing it. That's Tylenol. That's care without limits. Visit Tylenol.com/greatness-hurts to learn more. Use as directed.
Sergeant and Mrs. Smith, you're going to love this house.
Is that a tub in the kitchen?
There's no field manual for finding the right home. But when you do, USAA Homeowners Insurance can help protect it the right way. Restrictions apply.
Your NFL Sundays are about to get a whole lot more magical. When you bundle NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV, you get the most live NFL games all in one place. And with Multiview, you can watch up to 4 games at once, so you can catch all the action right from the comfort of home. Watch every game every Sunday on NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV. Sign up now at youtube.com/Sunday Ticket. Device and content restrictions apply. Local and national games on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket for out-of-market games excludes digital-only games.
Welcome back to Rams Up, your favorite LA Rams podcast. We are part of the Fans First Sports Network. You can follow us on our YouTube channel as well, at LA Rams Up. I'm your host, Mark. I'll be joined occasionally by my football gurus, Paul and Ian. Let's get to it.
Hello, everybody. Ramily, how we doing? Welcome back to the LA Rams podcast. Rams Up. Roundtable edition number 45. I'm Ian Martinez. This is my great friend Paul Walia. Paul, how you doing today, man?
Doing fantastic. Looking forward to the start of the season. Trying to enjoy the rest of the summer. And Ramley, as you noticed, we got the 2-back formation today, me and Ian. So I should say Power I. That's my nickname I give Ian. So we're hoping to bring you up to date on all the ramblings of the past weeks.
Yeah, Paul, a lot of crap that went down this last week or so since we've last got together and talked. I mean, first off, let's talk about this. Rams back at Cal Lutheran, the old facility they said goodbye to, all these memorable moments all the players gave. And Sean McVay says, oh, I won't miss the wind and I won't miss my no window office. And then now we're back there because why? The Woodland Hills temporary facility, not the full shebang that's going to hopefully be ready by next season or the season after that or as soon as possible. The temporary facility is not ready. So based on reports, based on what Sean McVay has said, that's not going to be ready till a week before the season, probably that final preseason game against the Texans. I mean, man, oh man, what a crazy, crazy offseason on top of other things we're going to talk about. But what are your quick thoughts on that facility not being ready?
Yeah, I think, this whole scenario, I think they should have just picked one location and went with it. If it's not ready, it's not ready. We could always do it next year. But I agree with you. I think the more consistency, the more, I guess, if you want to say, the ability to focus and just familiarity, I think would be better off for the team. I'm sure there's some other logistical reasons. But, yeah, I agree with you. It's like, pick a place and go with it. When the other place is ready, it's ready.
I know. It's just crazy. And, we got Rams players talking about how the Chargers' new facility is fantastic. And I'm sure there's some deep, like, why the hell don't we have this ready, right? We're the premier LA team. We're the team who built SoFi Stadium, right? All this stuff. So, hey, let's hopefully Kroenke figures it out. And when he does, we know it'll be an A+ spot. But, dang, a lot of moving around. So, the next biggest thing other than moving around all of LA County, Paul, more starters are being sidelined from Alaric Jackson being day-to-day. Now it's week-to-week. Jonah Jackson, his week 1 status is in serious doubt based on today's reports. Rob Havenstein, he was a week-to-week. And now it's probably going to be even longer than just 1 week or two with his ankle injury. Then on top of that, we have two backups, Livingston and McLaurin, who are both have ankle injuries themselves. I mean, it is ridiculous how much is going on with the O-line. And then let's not forget Puka Nacua bursted a sack, what they call like a bursitis injury, if I get that wrong, or a bursa sack, where there is in your knee, everybody, there is these kind of pockets of fluid around your joints in your knee, and those can pop if you have a serious impact. Puka did when he had that one crazy catch. That video was going around Twitter and Instagram where he fell on his knee and got up gingerly. So he popped that, and he will be week to week. Now, Sean McVay says that he should be ready to go by week 1 against the Lions. But my goodness, Paul, I mean, what is going on, dude? O-line, Puka. I mean, should we just cancel practice and just bubble wrap everybody until we go to Detroit? I mean, my goodness, dude.
And we had just spoken at the Roundtable a couple of weeks ago saying, oh, preseason games cause so many injuries. Rams can't get through. They got through OTAs, but just, unfortunately, we lost Kendrick, and then we had the hamstring for D-Will. But, I mean, training camp, they have just been beat up. And one of the factors really is, for everyone out there, Ram Nation, it's that defense always has the advantage when it's these type of Ian and I were just talking about it. Defense always has the advantage. They can shoot gaps. There's no formal tackling. Of course, they can rip at the ball. I was watching some of the joint practice tapes. I'm like, defense has to relax a little bit. So, that is a factor as well. Sometimes you have to have the defensive coaches dial it back because, O-line's trying to get their timing right. They have to work, and there has to be a greater sense of cohesion on the O-line. So offense is all about rhythm. It's all about timing. So I think that is one factor. So this rash of injuries, I mean, there's no real explanation, but the Rams do have to look at it. So you and I have talked about it all the time, right? We feel like their medical staff, their training staff is like beyond words. What they've done with injuries over the last couple of years has been close to miraculous. Getting, like Cam Akers was a great example. Witt, when he got hurt, that knee injury, and he was able to make it back for the playoffs and the end of the season as well. So we've talked about that. It might be something as simple as just the way that they are preparing or structuring the practices or some of the drills that could be, contributing to this. Because the Rams do have that track record where they have a lot of these preseason injuries. So that has been one thing that has been fairly consistent. But yeah, like you said, running down that list, the list is fairly extensive. I mean, it's pretty much all, Avila and K-Dot are the only healthy bodies right now. McClendon, as you said, we just found out McClendon and KT just got hurt, all ankle injuries, which I think is interesting. But the good news is, McVay did come out publicly and say that Puka will be ready for the start of the season. Thank goodness. And one just other injury update: we do know that Higbee is going to be on the PUP list. He's probably not going to be ready for the start of the season, which means he's going to miss the first 4 games of the season, which is what we expected. So, it's an extensive list when it comes to the O-line for the Rams. It seems to be focused around this one position. And it's interesting.
I mean, Paul, do you think we're getting into the 49er territory of injuries with the way we've shifted schematically and the mentality of offense?
Yeah.
Just think about it. 49ers have been the most injured team since Shanahan has been their coach. And what is their brand of football? It is smash mouth, gap scheme, obviously some zone. Every team runs some zone, but it is in your face. Let's beat you up physically on both fronts. O-line, D-line, the whole shebang. We've made that transition. Now we're going into year 2 of this smash mouth style of offense. Bigger O linemen, gap scheme instead of zone, instead of area blocking, we're man blocking, combo blocking, trying to put people in the dirt, right? And 49ers have been severely injured. A lot of beat up O linemen, a lot of beat up players. And I think now that we're in another year of it, and we got very, very lucky with a lot of the O line being extremely healthy last year. Let's just be honest. Compared to 2022, where it was a disaster, 2023 was pretty fantastic with the amount of non-injuries to the starting group of O-line. Yes, did some people miss some time? Of course, but in the long haul, it was a great success in terms of non-injuries to that group. Now, we can't even get through a couple weeks of training camp without first and second stringers going down. So, do you think it's possibly the philosophical smash mouth change we've made leading to injuries because you have to be more aggressive at the point of attack, because you have that mental purpose and wiring to say, hey, I got to open up this gap and clear this dude out. It's my willpower against his. And do you think that has anything to do with it? And deep down, I think it might a little bit from me, the way I'm coming from it.
No, I agree with you, and I'll expand about that too. I think there's another factor as well. So, the blocking scheme that you're talking about, what's the focus? It's always level one first, right? First level first. So there's a lot of, like you were saying, there's a lot of aggression. There's a lot of direct contact. But think about it from this way too, is I think there's another contributing factor. If I know I'm not going to have that opportunity to sort of bang heads in the preseason, because, that's just the way we handle preseason, when is the only time I'm going to really have that chance as from a player's mentality? So the coach can tell me lay back. But from a player's standpoint, this is really the only time I'm going to get a chance to really get after it. So I think you put
100%.
those two together, right? I think you might be right. That might be a contributing factor. And it's hard also if the defense came in, they were all fired up from like day one. Shula, Bars was like very open. He says, I talk a lot, that type of thing. He had everybody jazzed up. So you put, it's sort of like a matrix of different factors that when they come together, this could be part of it. And it's hard to say, dial it back, because coaches never want to use that phrase. Because it's hard to tell you, because when you're teaching players, you can't turn it on and off. The last thing you want to say to them is dial it back. So I think going along with what you're saying is that this team is now, from an offensive standpoint, they're learning, and then from a defensive standpoint, because of the youth, they're learning how to practice without basically putting everybody on IR. So I think that is part of the learning curve. So I agree with you. And one good thing, Ram Nation, this is a very this blocking scheme that we're talking about, this gap scheme, is actually, it's predicated on what we call vertical displacement. It's getting into bodies and moving them, downfield. So there is a lot of contact. It's not about the left and right all the time, like with the zones. Not that the zones are not physical, but it's just that this particular blocking style is predicated on contact and movement. So I think there is a lot to that. So I think that is a fair point.
I know. And because of all this chaos on the O-line, I mean, Paul, today we signed 3 new offensive linemen off the street because things are so bad right now. Crazy. Can you tell us about those 3 new guys that are going to be in the building and I assume get some good snaps in because of all the injuries? Who are they?
So we have a couple of interesting signings. So the first one is played for the Patriots, McDermott. So he is just massive. 6'8". They have him listed at 310. He was a 6th round pick. He does have some starting experience, was never really a full-time starter, but was considered a very, very capable backup. And he does have double-digit starts to his credit. So I think he's going to be especially valuable if the Havenstein Monster cannot go for week 1 on the right side. So I think that's going to be interesting. So whether Noteboom gets a start, and we're going to assume that Jonah Jackson is, might need some coverage as well. So we're going to probably have maybe Noteboom covering at guard. So we'll see how it plays itself out. Yeah. The other player is this the kid, names might sound familiar, Lindstrom, the kid from Boston College. Ram Nation, the name sounds familiar. His brother starts at guard for Atlanta. This is the Lindstrom family. They have multiple members of the family that have played in the NFL. So he was a prize, not want to say prize pick, but he was a prize UDFA signing when he came out of college, played at Boston College, had solid grades, considered a powerful player, good movement skills. So I think it's a great pickup. He last played for the Memphis Showboats. So I think it's a great pickup. Based on everything I've read about him, he's going to fit the scheme. He's a physical player. And I think we learned a lot from the K-Dot signing. Don't count anybody out, right? Especially in today's day and age. And we also signed another player, I hope I'm saying his name right, Kasky, who I don't know too much about. He did play for Carolina. He played for the Chargers. He was originally signed by the Rams, so he did start his career here in LA. So he's
2019, also, Paul. Sorry to cut you off. Was that 2019?
Yeah, he was a 20.
Yeah.
It was a 2019 signing.
Mm-hmm.
So he's also considered to be a solid interior player. Good skills. He played with Birmingham, 2 seasons with Birmingham, the Chargers, and now this is his second stint with the Rams. So impressive in the sense that we were able to find 3 linemen that have had NFL experience, and we're able to bring them onto the roster. So fingers crossed. Hopefully we won't need them and they won't see a lot of playing time.
Please,
but
yeah.
if we do, at least they have a little bit of background in the NFL. They are familiar with schemes, clearly. And hopefully, and knowing this Rams coaching staff, they'll get them up to speed.
Yeah, man, oh man, Paul, it's crazy just how things can just feel like they're falling apart in an instant in this league, man. It's the NFL, National Football League, but I know many people like to call it the not for long league.
Right.
And it's that case for a vast majority of different categories like injuries, team construction, coaching. Things don't last, man. That's when you have your window, you got to strike fast. So another reason why I think these signings happen outside of the lingering O-line injury issues, because according to Sunday's Rams versus Chargers joint practice, I should say, the starting offense got their asses kicked pretty bad by the starting defense of the Chargers. According to reports, Rams offense turned the ball over 5 times, multiple interceptions off tip balls, fumbles by the running back, and then O-line got absolutely worked in both the pass game and the run game. And it's no shocker that coupled with the injuries is what led to these signings happening. But why is that a big deal, everybody? And why is these joint practices much more significant than any preseason game that we're going to watch for the next month or so? Like we've said on this podcast, on the Roundtable episodes, pay attention to the reports out of the joint practices. Why? Because that's where you see starting Rams players versus other team starters. And how does that go? How does that look? How does Stafford look? How does the O-line look? And so forth and so forth. Well, it was all bad. And Paul, what do you think from these bad reports about the offense in Sunday's joint practice against Harbaugh's Chargers out in their new facility?
Yeah, I did get a chance also. I did like the fact they put, the joint practice film out. So for fans that haven't had a chance to see it, definitely check it out. There's a lot of really, really good footage out there. Part of me is, don't read too much into it. The entire O-line was not out there. And we just talked about how, the joint practice is really a culmination of everything that's been, happening, OTAs, et cetera, moving forward in the beginning of training camp. The Rams haven't had all those pieces together, so the timing has been off and everything else. But also, like we said, you and I talked about, defense always has the advantage in these scenarios. And when those fisticuffs start to happen, when we talked about these fights that happen, it's always defense that starts it. By the way, right?
It feels that way.
But
unless you're Malik Neighbors throwing cheap shots, that was crazy to watch earlier. But I mean, I digress. Go ahead, Paul. Sorry.
We did say Malik Neighbors is he's a different type of player, right? We said when he got drafted, he's going to need a lot of supervision. But he's a dog. He's a straight dog. But that's what you and I had said. We said O-line will get their payback once everything starts to even out and everything starts to settle in. When you go to live tackling, all of a sudden the defense tones it down a little bit, right? But but for the joint practices, I think I agree with you. It's a good chance to see like how the starters out there. You want to see like the running back rotation, things of that nature. It's a glimpse into how that season is going to sort of play itself out at certain formations. The other part of it, I think, when we talk about the injuries, right, and you and I have hinted at it, is that these injuries, they're opportunities for other players. right? We've been talking about Jay Witt. We've been talking about Tutu. All right, so thankfully Puka doesn't have a season-ending injury. But in this time period, we talked about, and I've said it here, number 18, man, Johnson, man, that kid, he's going to get a spot. He's just playing out of his mind. He looks great out there. He's got the sign. When they signed him, we all said it was a great signing. He's making people know who he is, know that name, remember that name. So Xavier Smith is playing lights out. Tutu's on the bubble. Tutu better wake up and start playing. So, and also for Jay Witt, this is a chance for him to move up maybe in the pecking order as well. On the O-line, same thing. Times for other players, maybe more from a depth scenario where they're going to be in the depth scenario, but absolutely, these are opportunities. We don't want injuries, but these, I guess that's the way I look at it. There are opportunities for players who normally wouldn't get a chance to be seen. We saw that in the secondary. We saw, Lampkin's getting a great look. The kid from SMU is getting Woods is getting a great look. I mean, that's how you find talent on your roster. Leave no stone unturned. So for the joint practice, it would have been nice to see the Rams play a little bit better. They were sloppy. They just weren't crisp. I wouldn't read too much into it, fans. So don't panic just yet. But I agree with you. It's a great glimpse. I'm looking forward to the preseason game because I want to see the depth players really get out there. And I also want to see how they're going to handle special teams. I also want to get a glimpse at special teams because I've heard Tanner Brown is not going to go down without a fight, which is interesting in the kicking game. So it's going to be fun to watch.
It's good. I mean, speaking of that, at joint practice, what are some positive things we can talk about? Oh, the other two sides of the ball, special teams and defense. So sticking with special teams, the kicking competition seems to be pretty real. Both kickers made all their field goal attempts in the joint practices against the Chargers. That is great news since kicking field goals was a problem all of last year. My goodness, I couldn't take it, Paul, last year. We couldn't take it talking about how it was.
Oh, that was brutal.
The gimmies, right? 45 and under was like, I don't know if they're going to make it. So it's good news so far that both kickers, Cardi and Brown, are both making all their field goals. So that's a positive coming out of camp. Now, something that I find very interesting about special teams, and this Sean McVay said, he's not really into the new kickoff, man. I mean, in a coach speak way. He said, it is not a football play I'm familiar with. And everybody out there, that's coaches speak for. I don't like it, and I don't think this should be a thing, right? Putting it nicely. So, Rams have had some of the worst special teams in every category you can possibly think of. DVOA, true stats, advanced stats. However you analyze special teams, Rams have been pretty bad or the worst in the NFL since John Bones Fossil has left our coordinator position way back. And man, oh man, I hope he figures out this new kickoff. I hope everybody figures it out in the Rams organization, because if that doesn't get figured out, we are going to be so in trouble, I feel, for this upcoming season where, many coaches talk about, hey, kickoff is now a run play. And because of that, a lot of different blocking angles, a lot of grit you're going to need to get off those blocking angles to tackle the ball carrier and make back their returning kicks. Man, oh man, Paul, what do you think of Sean's comments, and how do you think that's going to affect us, honestly?
This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. From streaming to shopping, Prime helps you get more out of your passions. So whether you're a fan of true crime or prefer a nail-biting novel from time to time, with services like Prime Video, Amazon Music, and fast free delivery, Prime makes it easy to get more out of whatever you're into or getting into. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to learn more.
This episode is brought to you by Trojan Condoms. Experience more with Trojan Bearskin Raw, America's thinnest latex condom among leading brands. Enjoy triple-tested Trojan quality with a natural feel for your most thrilling adventure yet. Trojan Raw is also available in non-latex, designed to increase body heat transfer between partners. Trojan Bearskin Raw. Let's go. Tap the banner to buy now.
Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/save. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
This episode is brought to you by Experian. Are you paying for subscriptions you don't use but can't find the time or energy to cancel them? Experian could cancel unwanted subscriptions for you, saving you an average of $270 per year and plenty of time. Download the Experian app. Results will vary. Not all subscriptions are eligible. Savings are not guaranteed. Paid membership with connected payment account required.
I think most offensive coaches, if you ask them, they don't want special teams. They just want, they'd love to just, make it 2 phases of the game. Like, listen, if we don't, keep it until you go down the field. If you can't, just give up the ball and 4th down, right? They would love to change the rules that way. But, listen, the reality is the 3rd phase is extremely important when it comes to the X and O's because it's field position. If you're an offensive player, you're an offensive coach, you want great field position. You also want the ability to take it to the house. I think that's really, really important. From the defensive side of it, turnovers, huge, right? Also pitting the team back in their own zone, average field position. It helps the defense, right? They can be more aggressive. So it is an integral component of playing championship caliber football. Obviously you got you had a chance to watch the game as well. We got that first glimpse of what it's like, the kickoff. And I think that might have been what set McVay off because everybody looked confused. It was an interesting sample. I mean, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it too, because our boy, the SCO man, was on that squad, right? Mm-hmm. So it was interesting. I kept spotlighting and watching him, see how he was doing. But what was interesting, the first thing that stood out to me, and let me know your thoughts, was I thought it was unusual, and I think this is a change they might want to have a look at.
Yeah,
that there was no official on the line where the return squad and the coverage squad was sort of facing off. And the return squad was looking back to see when their guy caught it, right? And so the advantage is clearly to the coverage team because they're looking directly at the returner.
For sure, it feels that way, yeah.
Right? So I was thinking, I was sort of surprised where, you could have it where, the official whistle in the mouth, arm up, receiver catches it, and then the arm comes down, everybody goes, right? So both teams look at the official as opposed to looking at the returner. So I think that's one way that they should definitely look at equalizing it. That's just something that immediately popped into my head. What I also thought was interesting was something you and I spoke about. It did look like a running play, did it not?
100%.
In my mind, it was just screaming. It looked like a running play on both every time that they tried to do it. And just a clarification, Ram Nation. So if you kick it into the end zone, it's going to come out to the 35. If you look at the returns, nobody, I don't think, even got it out to the 35, right? I don't think anybody got it out to the 35. There was one kneel in the end zone, and the rest all came out short of the 35. So that's going to be interesting. So the NFL's, I guess, sort of idea of being able to increase the number of kicks probably is going to happen, because if you look at that differential, absolutely, it's in your best interest to try to get it in that drop zone and have them try to return it. If the coverage teams are able to hold up like we saw in that one, it's just one game, but from what I saw, the coverage team definitely has the advantage, 100%. But once again, that could change dramatically once you start to see these exotic kickoff plays, which I think is going to be exciting because the NFL has no shortage of dynamic returners. So that's going to be fun.
Talented guys, man. Heck yeah.
So that's going to be fun. It's a Tony Horn days all over again. Come on, Rams.
Man, oh man, I hope we benefit from it though, Paul, because special teams have been a kind of mess, man, since Coach Bones has left us. But speaking of that joint
shout
practice,
out to Coach Bones.
Shout out to Coach Bones, man. He was a good coach for us. But speaking to the other important side of football out here, Rams defense had a great day against the starting offense of the Chargers in that joint practice on Sunday. Now, yes, Justin Herbert was not out there because he has a plantar foot injury. I forgot exactly what it was, Paul. You can probably remind me exactly. Plantar fasciitis, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
That's something I think Joe Burrow has dealt with, other quarterbacks, and that's not a good injury to have for any quarterback, any mobile quarterback like Herbert, and someone that's installing a new offense like Harbaugh is. You need your number one guy out there to be able to help that process move along more steadily. So I get it. A top talented quarterback was not out there. But what do you do when the backup is in? Do you dominate? And according to reports, the Rams defense absolutely dominated the Chargers starting offense. Byron Young particularly had a good day. Braden Fisk had another great day, apparently. Everybody on defense was swarming to the football, clogging running lanes, batting down passes, sticky coverage. Everything you wanted to hear from the defensive side happened in that joint practice. And what are your quick thoughts on that, Paul? Real quick on mine, I'm glad to hear that at least one side of the main football points balled out. What about you?
My boy Power Eye, he knows that I'm defense through and through. I love defense. So, I'm excited about the Rams defense. Regardless of the practices and everything else, and everything that happens in the preseason, I'm excited to get the season started because I think this defense is going to wind up being something special. McVay has been raving about Monster Zero. Every chance he gets, he puts the spotlight on Monster Zero. And we talked about it two roundtables ago. Monster Zero's put on 10 pounds. He looks bigger. He's been very, very vocal. He's shown a lot of leadership. He has a great relationship with Bars and Fist Factor. They're like, and Hollywood also. Those four are always sort of together, which I think is really awesome. By the way, we know Fist Factor. Just an injury update on Fist Factor. Apparently, he has a blister the size of Toledo, right, on his foot. And it only makes sense, man, because he's probably generating, just sparks off the ground the way he plays. So he's going to be laid up for a little bit, but it's apparently just a very severe blister. But, I think they have the components of a very, very good defense. I personally, I sent that text around. I would love for them to sign, one of these like cheap D tackles that's just a pure run stuffer to pair with Bobby Brown. Somebody like Ashawn-esque. You're not going to find somebody like Ashawn for the money that they want to offer, right? But somebody that's Ashawn-esque to pair with him, just clog up those running lanes and free up some of these other guys and let Tyler Davis move around a little bit more. But the defense, like I said, I think they have all the components. Once they get healthy, D. Will comes back. T. White's out there playing. You and I were just like bubbling when we found out that T. White was going to be going hard in these practices and everything else and be ready for the season. I think that's going to be huge. And this one area, Ram Nation, I cannot remember the last time when we've had this level of depth in the secondary. And that's at cornerback as well as safety. Kobe Durant, McVay has been talking up Kobe Durant. So it's just absolutely fantastic. So much so the Rams released Logan today. That was one of their releases. The safety, probably the deepest position one of the deepest positions on the team next to wide receiver. I thought that was interesting. They also released a tight end. One of their backup tight ends was also released. So I think that just goes to show that the depth that the Rams have started to develop at certain positions. And at defense, apart from maybe inside linebacker, which still, there's still a lot of competition going on. I think the Rams have pretty much solidified their key starters, and the Rams at safety are just going to be lights out. The Rams at outside linebacker are just going to be lights out. And I think the pairing of the conductor and fist factor, it has a potential to be one of the best 1-2 punches in the league when it comes to getting after the passer. So it doesn't surprise me that they dominated practice. They're a high, and right from day one, we said it. You could see the personality of this defense. They are a high energy attack mode defense. Go ahead, Blue Steel, get it done.
Blue Steel, I love that nickname. And look at Braden Fisk for many, many practices through training camp, through this joint practice, has been the best rookie by far, according to a lot of reports. Has Jared Verse been playing good? Excuse me, Jared Verse, V8, like the Rams personnel like to call him. Great name. 8-bar Verse, we like to call him here. I mean, whatever V and an 8 you can figure out together for that guy's nickname, we'll take it. So he's been doing well. Let's not downplay his performance in practice.
Absolutely.
But Braden Fisk has been so outstanding. Matthew Stafford has talked about how he pops on film and how he stands out when he's out looking at practice. I mean, what a great trade that will end up being, right? Everyone crapped on the Rams for making that trade up to get Fisk, and they said it was too much in value, which I guess on face value you could argue that that's the case. But if he ends up being anywhere as good as how he is practicing right now, then who gives a damn, right? F them picks, as a man in the front office like to say in the Rams organization. So, hey, we'll see how it happens when games come in September and beyond. But I think if you're a Rams fan, you have to be happy with not only Fisk and Verse, but Byron Young's improvement, Kobe Turner's leadership and improvement, Ernest Jones' traditional leadership, and how the secondary has come together as well, and just how they're performing, and even Trey Wright's recovery from injury and how that's progressing, how well he's
fantastic.
So fantastic with this first round of joint practices defensively. Cowboys joint practice, I want to say, is coming up this week, so we'll know a ton more again how these starting units are doing, but we'll get there when we get there.
Who for you is like the one veteran that you are really pulling for on the defensive side of it, that you're happy to hear that they're doing well or whatever it may be?
Oh, it's Tre'Davious White by far, because the injuries, torn ACL 2 years ago, comes back, plays good football, and tears his Achilles. And my goodness, man, it feels like when you start ripping ligaments in your body, it feels like all the other ones start to be worn out, and then they tear eventually. And look at Cam Akers, shout out to his time with us. He was a respectable player, had some good games, tore his Achilles, and then not too long after he tore his other one. It just seems like when you have one ligament injury, another one is not too far away based on just, I guguess, physics, if I had to, without my scientific knowledge of you putting more pressure on one other leg or other ligaments compensating for the repair of another. It's very, very unfortunate. So we are fortunate that Tre'Davious White has been playing so well in practice, and again, had a good day of joint practice. He's had a good training camp. So he is the player I am most happy to hear doing well, because if he plays well and gets back to a Pro Bowl level or his former all pro glory days, everybody, man, oh man, what a steal that's going to be for $10 million for a great player on the outside that we desperately need come the tournament time if we make it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, when you start to look at the secondary level with if Kobe Durant keeps this level of ascension going, think about that, man. Rams are going to have 3 safeties and 3 corners to go. It's going to be interesting. That 4-2-5 setup that everybody plays in the NFL for the Rams, I think is going to be rock solid, but their dime package is also going to be deadly as well. So it's going to be exciting.
Oh, I think so too. And speaking of players coming back from injuries, many, many reporters out there are saying how Cooper Kupp has looked his best since the 2021 offseason leading into the Super Bowl season. And it's no shock about it, guys. I mean, Kupp has been extremely vocal this last offseason about how that 2021 MVP level season from him en route to winning that Super Bowl took a ton out of him mentally, and especially physically, and how he never felt like he got back all the way after that Super Bowl victory. And reporters are seeing it. He's seeing it himself. Players are noticing it. Coaches are noticing it, and I'm happy to hear Cup looks fantastic and that it's noticeable by everyone who has eyeballs. So that's somebody else I'm very excited to hear is having a good training camp and looks like MVP level Cup again. And man, when Nakua gets healthy, I mean, that should be a great 1-2 punch at the wide receiver position. And that's what we're going to need to make a tournament run, a playoff run, Super Bowl run. We need an MVP level Cup, or not even that, a healthy Cooper Kupp. And he has not been the last 2 years. So, Paul, what are your thoughts on Cooper Kupp looking like Super Cooper once again?
So King Kupp is back and healthy. Yeah. And if that is the case, look out. I think, that combination, the Rams wide receiver room is probably the strength of the team right now, just in terms of depth and just overall quality by far. But, my favorite play in the Rams offense is that slot fade to King Kupp. To me is just, it's just like poetry in motion every time you watch it. So if they're back at full speed, Optimus 9, you're just going to see him just lobbing that all game long. He is such a pivotal factor in this offense, right? If you think about it, not just from his offensive pass catching capabilities, but his blocking, right? When you talk about that, the ability to block, on the move is something that's a key component of this offense. And I think that's something that we've been talking about, and people are starting to recognize it around the league, or about that 11 personnel. But, I think that's such a crucial component. We were talking about the blocking scheme. Well, an important part of duo is who's got that kick block, we call it, right? And, some people like to call it the kick out block, or whatever, however you want to say it. But, it's such an important part. Some people like to call it, when they're on the move, the slice block. All depends who you are and how it's being utilized.
Yeah,
but
tomato with all the terminology. I know.
Right, all the terminology.
It's complicated, but it's all the same stuff.
But when you watch it, it's just a thing of beauty. You see these wide receivers, D-Rob, Tyler Johnson throwing his body at, Puka just blasting people when Ben Sko was here, right? He's opening up holes like he was a fullback. So I think that's an important part of it. And that physicality goes right along with what you're citing, right? That the physical nature of this game, you have to be at 100%. And if Cooper Kupp is able to play at 100%, then it's King Kupp is back. And if King Kupp is back, that's bad news for everybody else. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it just, adds just another dimension to this offense, particularly I think where he's going to be most noticeable is going to be the red zone. That's where he was deadly. And if he's back to form, that's where you're going to see it. The ability to really, in the red zone, make life a lot easier for Matthew Stafford.
For sure. And man, oh man, everybody, again, our wide receivers are also full-time fullbacks in this offense. So a part of the smash mouth approach that we've been taking on the last few years now, we need healthy Kupp and healthy Puka to be able to lay out some D linemen and linebackers, which they do a fantastic job of, and it's really phenomenal and great football to watch those two guys and any receiver be fullbacks part-time and execute blocks to a T. And we'll need a help to be able to do that. And obviously all his Super Cooper receiving ability. And man, oh man, Paul, it's just, I hope we're ready to go by September, and all these lingering injuries, everyone that is healthy now continues to be healthy. And, we shall see what happens. And obviously as joint practices continue, as preseason games, unfold, hopefully we have more good news and more health-related positive news too. But before we finish up here, Paul, you discovered that we had a new hire in the front office. Can you tell us about that real quick?
Yeah, so shout out to HBCU. We have a member from North Carolina A&T, the same school that Brad Holmes went to. We got him from North Carolina A&T. He was also an alum there. So Jordan Foster joins the front office. She was, I think, a director of football operations out for North Carolina A&T, the first female director of football operations. So there was not too much information shared in the media release about what her exact role is, except that she is joining the front office staff. So congratulations to her. Welcome to her. Another proud member of the HBCU family joining the Rams. Always welcome. So just wanted to share that little nugget of information. So as the team is growing, so is the Ram organization.
Yeah, it's always good to see new innovative hires, right? People, younger minds. I know I'm still a young man as well, and so are you, Paul. But it's always good to get new blood in the building, different perspectives with whatever it is, technology, new way of thinking,
Yeah.
whatever you can do to just have different thoughts in the building to be able to just grow the business, which is, make a football team, right? And obviously make some cash, of course. We know that, everybody, but I think it'll be a good hire. Everything, from reports out of what she's done at her time, at her previous gigs in football, have been well received. So hopefully she can do something fantastic with us as well. And man, oh man, Paul, this episode went by pretty dang fast. And hopefully we got some good news next time we link up. And golly, fingers crossed, Ramley, if you believe in the football gods, send them a Ram prayer that everybody is ready to go by week 1 and that no more significant things are happening to us in the next month and some change, right? But that'll do it from us here. This is the Rams Up podcast, Roundtable episode number 45. My name is Ian. This is my friend Paul, and we are here signing off and thanking you guys for tuning in. And again, real quick, if you are on YouTube, please like and subscribe. It'll help any other Rams fan, any other NFL or football fan see this video. And if you're listening on any podcast platform, we really, really appreciate it. But I'm signing off here, Paul. What's your sign off today?
Ramley forever.
Ramley forever. Thanks, everybody. Peace.
That's going to do it for this episode. Remember, you can reach us at ramsuppodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget about our YouTube channel. Our handle is at laramsup.com. Till next time, keep the horns up, stay safe, and have fun out there.